Alright, welcome to Demon Souls Cheese All Bosses. I'll be trying my best to trivialize all the bosses, giving them hardly any or no fighting chance to kill me. This will be showcasing remake bosses, but I will occasionally be showing some of the cheese strats from the original that are maybe not possible anymore. We're starting with the Magician class, of course, to get some of the spells and magic ready. We are going to be mostly doing a magic based build. And start with the fire bombs as well. I'll also be doing this video with base HP for the Magician class, just to prove that these methods have pretty high survivability for a cheese, sometimes even in clever rat ring range. I will not be using Poison or Death Cloud, because that's boring and slow, and no Homie Solar or Firestorm. Those spells are too easy and well known as is. So just to spice it up, we're gonna do whatever we can without those. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit a like button and to subscribe if you want to see more Demon Souls content in the future. Alrighty, so first one's up is Vanguard. We are gonna do the tutorial for this, and well, unfortunately, since we don't got a lot of resources in the tutorial of the level, the best you can do is try to flame toss him. And I tried to stick to this button more or less. If you do this well, I didn't do quite as good a job as I could have. You can generally just kind of hit him from behind and not even have to roll really. I found I really had to roll at all as it was in this attempt. So it could have gone even better. So just to get to his butt, if he ever flies up, you just gotta make sure to get away from him a little bit so you don't get hit by the AoE. But you can even punch that pretty well as well, if you just see it coming. Use that plane of fresh spice in case you run low, so it should not be an issue to get him down. And there we go. First boss down. Tutorial with hardly any resources. Done. Now for Phalanx. As most of you know, this boss is extremely weak to fire. You do get a lot of fire resources throughout the level. If you start with a starter gift of fire bombs, you will be 5 up from what you pick up normally through the level. So what I'm going to do is just chuck every single fire bomb I found this level at him. I think if you were to do this more cleanly than I did, you could potentially kill him with only fire bombs. I think I have done that in the past. And with the amazing aim you have in the remake as opposed to the original, it should not really be an issue. As you can see, I was a little bit low, so I just ended up shooting some fireballs at the end there. But that is no less hard after all the ads are cleared away. Okay, from here on out, I'm basically going to do the first world of each level, just in order, you know, World 2, World 3, World 4, World 5, and then go back to World 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So next one up is Armored Spider. I did this recording in the 1.0 version of this game, this version unpatched, to have more access to a couple more things. So for this, I'm actually going to do a force quit warp to Armored Spider. But you can actually do this in the current patch as well with the proper Armored Spider skip without having to force close the game. Both reach the same conclusion, which is to land behind the spider's butt. So right now I can shoot him, I can hit him from behind in the butt, and the spider will be almost defenseless. You can see I just brought anything I can bring to up my damage a little bit. Enchant weapon on a curved sword is pretty quick. You can also shoot the spells like I was. I'm pretty sure a spider is immune to fire, so don't bring any fire spells or fire buffs. But you can honestly just use whatever you would like. Any small damage weapon, as long as it does damage, could technically beat him. However, the spider, as I alluded to, is not completely defenseless. The explosion or fire attack that he does can still hurt you from behind, so you need to get really far back from the fog gate. It should not kill you if you get it away fast enough. And you can still shoot him from range, either way, when that happens. So regardless of your build, as long as you're not completely fire damage based, you should be able to take down Spider from behind. If you would like to see how you do the Armored Spider skip, I do have a video on how to do it in the iCard right now. That way you can get to the spider butt in current patch. Alrighty, so this quote-unquote cheese is maybe not the most cheesy way to fight this boss. I am going to do the full auto stun lock, which is a little bit tricky to actually pull off. But at such a early point in the game, it is hard to overwhelm the full auto with pure damage, whether it be spells or not. So just to stay in the spirit of doing this early, I will do this. I do still think it's a little bit cheesy, even if some people might not consider it so, because you do essentially stop her from being able to do anything to you as long as you can keep up your own rhythm. But regardless, it's still a very cool strat to show, so I'll never get tired of showing this tech. It is really cool. You can use either the pine resin or enchant weapon for this. I just decided to do enchant weapon to mix it up, as long as your damage output is high enough with the dagger. Alright, Adjudicator is when we're going to start to put our spells to really good use here with the Magician class. So I got a lot of resources for this, including the Crisp Blade. So all I'm going to do is shoot Adjudicator in the head with insanely high magic damage. And as you can see, didn't get a chance to fight back at all. Before he was even doing his first swing, he was already dead. We will be using a couple more shots like this, as some are a little tricky to do with just any proper melee, as there's not always a very clear cheese method for the boss. For Leechmonger, we're going to collect before we go into the fog gate, so Leechmonger can't really detect us at all. And we're going to shoot fire spray at him from far away. As you can see, mixed with a clever rat ring with just good enough aim and enough mana, he could even heal his HP before we could kill him. So just stack it with Crisp Blade, Magical Sharpness Ring, whatever you can, and he should go down easily. But you may even be able to do this without any extra stuff, just a spell and some decent enough magic. Alrighty, so this will be the first showcase of strat I didn't come up with and actually looked up on YouTube. I'll be giving credit to the original video that I saw anyway. I am unsure if this is the person who found it or they're just spreading it, in the description and the iCard if you would like to see the original video. So, turns out that there's actually a little bit of an eye bug that you can abuse for Tower Knight, where he just kind of walks into the corner of a room when you stand in a particular spot. He sometimes does get off of his spot, and apparently shooting him like against a shield and stuff will sometimes make him do that again. Cloak isn't even necessary. The only reason I use it is so I don't get shot at by the archers, so I can just go in straight into the fight and already keep fighting them. It was definitely a little tricky, and I don't think I have it really down, so I wasn't the best showcase, but my damage output is good enough to where I can just mitigate that. No clever rat ring in this case. I didn't think it was necessary, and maybe a little risky, having not mastered this strategy too well yet. But regardless, this is a really good strategy with range weapons and attacks. For Flamelurker, it's going to be a similar boat. I also looked up a video for this, and I'm going to give the credit once again in the description and the iCard if you would like to see the original. It's actually very similar to a cheesy strat you can do in the original as well, which wasn't quite fixed, but the way you cheese the boss was by getting into a particular bone structure that he couldn't break, Flamelurker. Or at least I don't think he could break it. So he just ended up running into it infinitely where you can cast spells at it. So it works essentially the same way as this. A little bit harder to pull off, I think, because he can't snap out of it and come at you. But actually, it behaved pretty well for my attempt. So yeah, it's essentially the same thing. Stuck in a structure while I shoot spells at him with as much damage as I can. Not even using Clever Rat. It is a little bit risky to have Clever Rat. As you saw, he did try to hit me as well. It's still really nice for any range users. Okay, so for Maneaters, this is actually one of the ones where I want to showcase something for the original. That's not really possible, but I'll do that after this remake showcase. This is going to be similar to what I do in the speedrun for Demon's Souls Remake with magic routes, but I would argue even easier, as it requires a lot less skill to do, and you don't even need Clever Rat Ring with the build I have. But Fire Spray, as long as you're locked on, and back strafing is really powerful for Maneaters. I actually did a meme speedrun with this with Nax HPO on Speed Souls Charity Marathon one year, where we used fire spray only for almost all the bosses except for the 100% fire defense ones. And it turns out this is one of the better bosses to fight with the fire spray. Because all you have to do is back strafe as you just hit this boss, and it's fantastic. This buff attack that he does is actually perfect, because as long as you don't cut the tail off, he will actually just kind of take the fire spray. So you could potentially knock down a lot of the HP if you just do that. And you're ever confident enough, you can definitely use Clever Rat Ring. I just didn't feel like it was necessary, so I just did it without. As you can see, as long as you stay in lock on range, it's not too bad. The free aim isn't really possible while backstrafing like you can with like Soul Ray, like in a speedrun, as you will still be moving, or still be firing the way you're moving. I do get punched a little bit, but you know, not in Clever Rat. Look, he would have already been dead if I was using Clever Rat, that's for sure. So there it is. So if you're knowledgeable about the original Demon Souls, you'll probably know that you can actually shoot the first Maneater through the fog gate with a bow. So what I did just for this is have a longbow upgraded with heavy arrows. Maybe feather arrows would have been better or just as good for this, I'm not sure. But just a ton of those with Clever Rat Ring, as you know, I'm not in any danger whatsoever. And just shoot them through the fog. All you have to do is stand in the right corner of the fog gate and you can shoot through them. Possibly even the left one. It might be both, but I usually do it from the right. Not a very fast method, as you can see, but it will get the job done for the first one at least. And even though Maneaters are rough on their own, the fact that there are two is definitely one of the biggest hurdles. So if taking out one of these is what's being your bane in the original, then this is one way to do it. Alright, so for Old Hero, I couldn't find any really good cheese methods, and in all honesty, if you just know the fight well, you could consider this just a regular strategy, not really a cheese strategy. We're basically just going to abuse his blindness with Cloak, being Clever Rat, or actually you don't even need being Clever Rat, and then just shoot Soul Rays at it very patiently. After you hit him once, he's gonna groan, and more often than not, he will just go back to looking for you, as long as you don't spam another spell immediately. He does because he try to punish you, so do keep an eye on him. Make sure to recast Cloak if you need it, or Thief Ring, whatever you might have. But this is as cheesy as it can get. If you did have Homie Solar, he probably would have been dead a long time ago. But as we're trying not to use it in this run, I'm just going to use Soul Ray, which is still pretty powerful as is, but maybe not as overtly powerful as Homie Solar. Way in the middle of the boss room, I can still shoot him more or less, unless if I hit the wall. So if you just don't feel comfortable doing Clever Rat, don't do so. It is still going to be a little bit risky, but definitely far from as bad as it is to fight him without Thief or Cloak. Alrighty, I think this is the last one that I actually looked up on YouTube. This is for Dirty Colossus. I'll be linking the original video on the description right card. Essentially what's going to happen here is that you're going to break his body, so you'll be able to shoot it with him taking damage. Break some of the things in front of him that are going to block our path, and then go back to the entrance and stand next to this little wood thingy that's covering your way. As you can see, he can't really shoot past it. So the little flies that he's shooting at you, are just going to bounce the wall. But what he can do here, the video I saw uses Fireball, I believe. But since I don't have Dragon God Soul yet, I am going to just use Fire Spray, and it's just as valid. Honestly, any spell you use here works as long as it's far enough. I actually find out that I can even go a little more forward and be in this pillar. And I will later find out I can actually shoot to the left as well and still be undercover. So this is really, really good. This is already not one of the hardest bosses as long as you're careful. But with this strategy, it's even better. As you can see, they actually shot him through the left of that wood plank, but I didn't even notice, I don't think, until later. So yeah, there goes Dirty Colossus. Pretty cool strategy. A lot of these middle bosses are definitely a little harder to find strategies for, so I I praise the ones who did. Alright, I do unfortunately have to say that this strategy that I'm about to use is exclusive to this version. Vanguard is just a very specific boss, so it's hard to just actually cheese him. But if you were in the 1.0 version of the game and do the force quit warp, oh, I'll let you see what happens. Yeah, so you can actually spawn right in front of him where the arsenal would normally be by doing the proper force quit warp to him. And as you can see, we can actually backtrack. He is a little finicky as his hand is covering a little bit of the geometry there. So we're just gonna have to fudge our way through there. We made it. And then we can go to the second ballista. I actually did try to go to the first one early on, and you actually can't. You can't go back to the first one at all. It's just covered by geometry as well that he needs to break in the cutscene. Unless I said there is a way and I just didn't find it. But yeah, so we hit the second ballista, and I guess watch what happens. The cutscene plays as normal for the second cutscene. You even see they can have the other ballista stuck in his arm. And he has this animation, but he bugs out a little bit, and I think the game still thinks he's in first phase, but he brought his body down. So it was very wonky for sure. I come down here and his line of sight I guess just can't see me up here at all, which I guess makes sense. So he doesn't do anything to me here. So I just observe him a little while just to see what the heck is happening here. It's very weird. But we can still lock onto his chin and shoot him. And I think, as you can see there, his arms kind of close together. It looked like his body kind of positioned back to phase 3, like if he was actually hit by both ballistas. But I killed him too fast before I to notice that happened. And funny enough, the music is still playing here. So there's definitely a lot of bugginess going on. Unfortunately, as I said, you can't do this in the current patch. You could do it in like the 1.03, but not the current. However, if you do actually want to do something in current patch that's a little bit finicky and not maybe the proper way to do it, I do have a video on how you can kind of phase through the pillars of the Dragon God to be able to run through the first phase a lot faster and easier. And I do have a video on that, so I'm gonna link that right now in the iCard. But I do want to say also that I do have a method that I didn't discuss there because I found it later, or was described to me later. If you have Cloak on and cast it as soon as you log into the game after doing the cinematic setup, like I say in the video, and then hit the fog gate and stick to the right of this tunnel a little bit, you can actually get perfect cycle every single time, which is not something I knew about when I made that video. So a little quick cheat if you have a Cloak in your build. Alright, now Old Monk. This is taken straight from the speedrun method of killing this boss, because it actually works pretty efficiently as a cheese, more so on maybe even speed in some cases, just depending on how he behaves. But if you use the chairs, if you get behind a chair, he will every time try to break the chair before he hits you. So what you can just do constantly is use all these chairs to just bait him to do an attack and use Soul Ray. And it's very, very, very consistent. The only thing is that the chairs are very spread out, so they won't always be in a convenient position. You have to reposition yourself constantly. But it is very cheesy indeed. I approve. For Storm King, I'm sure this is something a lot of people have considered, even if they use the Storm Ruler for the actual fight. But of course, any range attack will actually work on both the Manta Rays and the Storm King, so this is again something we use in the speedrun, but I'm not going to use Clever Rat Ring, as it is something that I hope most people can do, and Clever Rat is definitely a little more dangerous. And this isn't a very foolproof method, but If I have enough mana, I could definitely shoot a lot of these manta rays before they kill me. If I can tank a few hits. And yeah, so we can actually clear out pretty much all the manta rays if we're fast enough. And then when the big one comes, just position yourself around here. Lock onto him, lock on his tail for some of the hits, and then you should be able to kill him. If you want to, you could even do Clever at ring range to kill him in 3 hits, probably. Now, for Maiden Astraea, I was kind of hoping that you could shoot her with magic, even if it's just free aim with something, because you don't really got a lot to worry about as long as you kill these guys. I think if you do attack her, these guys will kill you, or try to kill you, so do kill them first. Shouldn't be an issue. But as you can see, I'm gonna try my best to shoot her with what I think is the longest ranged attack, first Fire Spray. I did try also with I think Soul Ray, and they don't really seem to do anything any better. This comes really close, mind you. Seems to get into a little cave there, but not to the end where she is at. So I don't think any spell is gonna do it, despite how good your aim is. So the best option in this case is with a bow. So just aim at her. Don't hit the wood planks there like I did. And yeah, so you're gonna be able to reach her with the arrow. She is gonna try to heal herself, but with Clever Rat ring range and a good enough bow damage, as you can see, my DPS is definitely outpacing her heal, just like Leechmonger earlier. Yeah, I did have to switch to heavy arrows as opposed to what arrows I got with this bow. But she is done. Just for memes, I try to shoot him too, but he definitely is gonna have his shield up now and move around. If you don't know, Garo doesn't really do anything after you kill her, as long as you leave him alone. Actually, while I was at it, I did want to show something that you can do. And that is that you can kind of just shoot him as well with spells. Like if you have a fire instead of soul of magic damage, because these have 100% block magic shield. As long as it's something like fire, you can actually hit him as well. He will even bug out, but as you're about to see, do be careful with his Breath of the Gods, which I did not know he had, but I did recognize that spell animation.
And home.
Alright, so now on to Penetrator. You can definitely stun lock this boss. So I originally tried to do something with the dagger and the buff as well. And you could sometimes stun lock him, but it was a lot harder than it was Fool's Idol. So I ended up just defaulting to more Fire Spray with just spacing him out and Clever Rat. It wasn't the best. I did have to roll sometimes, you know, and ideally I want you to not even have to do that if it's going to be a risk to being Clever Rat ring. I guess you could do this at full HP as well, but it was a little bit too low damage for my taste. But you can actually strafe his little dash attack too, so that's pretty nice as well, I suppose. That's some kind of merit to this. But I did want to show a hilarious little cheese you can do for the original. And you could kind of do it in the remake as well, but it was a lot harder to get it to consistently work. And the damage output was not good enough, I think, to merit doing it in that sense. If you put a buff on your fist weapon, your headbutt stun lock will actually do damage to the Penetrator as well. So if you just have good enough stamina management, a lot of stamina, and good enough damage on this buff. So for example, if you have a light weapon, although that applies to Game Plus because you get it from this guy. You can potentially stunlock him fairly easy as long as you keep your rhythm up. This one I got from Ouroboros, one of his little funny little videos that he did from returning to Demon Souls from before the remake. I'm sure he's not the one that found it. I'm pretty sure it's a popular little fun thing you can do with Penetrator, but that's where I got it from, so I'll credit that as well. And yeah, it's just a funny little one that I wanted to share. Maybe not the easiest way to cheese it, because that timing for the headbutt is a little bit finicky sometimes, but still very fun nonetheless. And lastly, for the true King Allant, also a little bit unfortunate. I am going to have to abuse the Force Quid one more time here to just warp to him. This is definitely a very menacing boss that, as far as I know right now, there's no real cheese method they can do. In the remake anyway. Yeah, as you will see now, what I'm about to do is warp into his room like I did for the other ones, but more hilariously even than Dragon God, he's AFK. He is idle, and you can even attack him and he won't react. And that is because the fog is what triggers him after the cutscene, so he comes in idle. My fire spray damage was a little bit low, so what we're going to do while we wait for Makoto to do the damage that I wanted to do is I'm actually going to showcase one of the cooler little cheeses from the original Demon Souls, and that is that you can actually, as long as you don't move an inch from after entering the fog gate, he won't actually trigger either, just like this right now. So it's essentially the same state he's in right now, but we can damage him with arrows. So I will be using poison arrows to help this speed up a little bit. As you can see, the damage isn't great either. We do reach him with his bow, but our damage is pretty bad, maybe even worse than Maneaters. So we're gonna use poison to get him down, ticking, while we shoot him with other arrows. So yeah, this is one of the cooler ones as well from the original you can do, and I'm pretty sure it's no longer possible, as if you stand still in the fog gate, all that's gonna happen is that he triggers fight just as usual. Yeah, I switch over to heavy arrows once he's already poisoned, and we're gonna speed this up a little bit just because it is a very long fight. And I said I wasn't gonna use Poison Cloud or Death Cloud because it's really slow and boring, but you gotta admit it's pretty entertaining. Poisoning a boss and shooting him with arrows as he's idle is pretty hilarious. And I guess that's more so for the original. And the remake, you know, is something else different. And the bow is a little more interactive than just poisoning something and then waiting for it to die and getting him stuck on geometry. There's something like that for the remake for Flamelurker, where you can poison him and get him stuck like in the stairs. You can just wait for it to die to poison, but I find that really boring, so no offense when anyone uses that or made a video on it. Just not what I want to showcase in this video. I want to be a little more entertaining than that, for the sake of it. I just want to do something a little more interactive, even if it is just as cheesy. Looks like it's poison right now, and I was gonna switch out arrows to poison him again, but I figured it's close enough to by the time it's poison, it's probably would have been dead anyway. So just shoot him once more with just heavy arrows as usual. And there he goes. So that is a very popular one from the original, I think. Maybe not as popular as the Maneater's one, but it's a really cool one.
How did you defeat my precious demon?
Alright, so now my damage is ready with the Clever Rat Ring. I could have also had Morium Blade for this, maybe a few other ones, and I didn't really consider that. So I actually used the Storm King Soul to level up more. Maybe I should have thought of that, but that's okay. For this boss in particular, it's not really a big deal, is it? And I guess that while I'm at it, it would also cut away my Chris Blade damage. So it would be a back and forth trade regardless. So this is definitely a little faster. Just as idle, I suppose. I'm just holding the L1 button, but this is also pretty hilarious. Especially if this is a boss that's griefed you. Like he griefed me in my GDQ run. Then this is very therapeutic for sure, and I do not mind doing this now. And there he goes. The last major obstacle you have to deal with for this cheese all bosses strategy. I hope that it was entertaining.
How did you defeat my demonic reflection?
But of course, it's not truly the last final boss for the area, so we are gonna have to go to the True King Allant, of course. So he's already a pretty easy boss to defeat. So what strategy will I use to try to kill him? Aha! I lied. I'm using fucking Firestorm. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed watching that video. Thank you for watching. I hope you use these cheese strats responsibly. If there's any cheese strats you found or know about, put them in the description and I will pin and heart your comment. I do want to spread all the love for those videos as well that I might have seen about or know about. This is a fun little concept that is enjoyable to watch, so. If you liked what you saw, I do almost make exclusively Demon Souls content, so consider subscribing to my channel. And if you would like to see my Demon Souls speedruns weekly, give me a follow over on Twitch. We just finished our SGDQ 2021 Remake bonus run. It did get met after all, and it went fantastically as I was mentioning earlier. So I do hope you were able to catch it. If not, here is the video as well. So, thank you all for watching. I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.